This is awesome. At this point, we already have a pretty functional portfolio in the front end, let's say, and now you have the backend, the admin panel, the dashboard for that specific portfolio, and you're showing now the full list of skills and the full list of projects. That's perfectly functional now and need to proceed at this moment to create essentially the corresponding skills and projects. And essentially, during this class, we are going to see how we are going to create a skill. Essentially, we are going to add a button over here. Then we can click that button to show a form, basically in a model, essentially the way as it works in the single page applications. And then we are going to have the form with a name and the color that the user can select. After that, we can go to the backend and essentially create the information that we need. So let's just start with that. For that, of course, we need to go to our dashboard. Essentially, in fact, we need to go to the list of skills. So we have on resources, JS, and there is, of course, pages, skills, and there is all that view. So basically, before the table, we are going to add a button. So we are going to copy one of the buttons that we already have, for example, for edit or for delete as a base. So let's do get it there. And let's go back there. And here we have the button. Of course, this is going to say something like add new with a plus here to be much more clear. And essentially, we need to change a little this styling here. So let's separate all of these on different lines. Here it is, perfect. And well, we have already the border. Let's say that the border is going to be bigger, so we are going to use border 2. Let's add some padding. We are going to use, for example, padding of 3. Then the border is going to be blue instead of red. The text is going to be blue, pretty consistent. And the background is going to be as well blue. But of course, we need a different intensity here, so let's use 100. And in the hover, we are going to be, again, blue. And this time, this is going to be of 200. We don't need the margin left. And now we are going to use a font bold to make this a little bigger. And we are going to use rounded XL. So let's see how it looks like. There we have the button, add new. It doesn't do anything yet. And now we need to modify the location of this. We need to move all of this to the right. But that means that if we move the complete components to the right, the table is going to get the text on the right as well. But we need this on the left to keep this pretty organized. So we need to do two different things. First, we are going to say that all the elements inside here are going to be on the right, saying text right. And let me to show you what is going to happen. The button is going to be on the right, but the text in the table is going to be on the right as well. So we need to resolve that, no worries. In the same way as we can say that the text for this specific div is in the right, we can use text left for the table. So here we are going to say text left. And that should resolve our issue. Of course, there are different ways to resolve that. This is one of those. And here it is. The button on the right, and of course the table with the corresponding scenarios and the corresponding look and feel. Now, we need to add the actions to get this to show a model once we click here. So let's go there once again, and we are going to add the action, saying that at click, we are going to say that something like acting, doing something, is equals to true. Let's give some spaces here to leave our code to breathe. And then this is going to show our form. Remember, we are going to show the form inside a model. So let's copy the model that we already have on welcome.view almost at the end. Here we have get model. And we are going to copy all of that. Of course, we are going to make some modifications. And we can put this right after the button. In fact, the location doesn't matter too much because this is going to be over the entire content. But let's keep this a little organized because, well, this button is going to modify the action to look or not, or basically show or not this specific component, this specific model. So in this case, the show condition is going to be depending not on contacting, but on acting. So we need to change all of this for acting. Everything that says contacting, we are going to say this is acting. If acting is true, we are going to show the model. And if acting is null, we are not going to show it, or essentially if we close the model, we are going to say that acting is equals to null. Perfect. Now, we don't need all of this. We want to remove this part. Essentially, we are going to remove the text that we have here, but of course, we are going to preserve the background in almost white, basically a light gray, and the form that we have here. And once again, once we submit the form, we are going to call the submit method. That means that, yeah, we need to create, as we did here, the submit method with the corresponding elements and of course the corresponding form in our data with the components, in this case the name and the color for our specific form. So let's copy all of this, the data and the methods, and let's paste it here. Of course, in this case we have acting, and then we are going to have the form saying that it is going to handle the name of the skill and the color. Perfect. And this form is going to send a post request to the root that is going to create specifically a skill. So it needs to go to skills.store. Now, it doesn't finish there because inside our form, we are already using some components that we already know as well. Once again, we have the input component, or basically the get input, the get input error, the get model, the get button, so we need to use all of them. So let's copy basically all of this from here, and we are going to paste it there. We are basically reutilizing our existing code. In fact, we already had the button, so we can remove this, and there is model, input, and input error. And of course, we need to use all of them here. Let's put this correspondingly. And remember to separate this with the commas at the end of the line. Of course, at this point, we're still having the skills. Now, the component name method is not needed here, so we can remove this. And we have submit to send the post request to this specific route. And well, we can do it even different. We can say that form is going to submit a request to a post route. And the route is this. Why we are going to do this this way? Well, because we are going to, in following classes, need to change dynamically the name of the method. In this case, it's always post, but then you are going to see that following classes, we are going to change this to a variable saying, hey, this is going to be post or this is going to be path. So let's do that, by the way, changing that to a more generic way to resolve and make the same post request to this specific action. And now, additionally, as you may remember, from a way as Laravel JetStream sends the forms, we need to send, or we can send, a second parameter, which is going to be basically an object with different actions that we can perform, saying that in the success actions, we are going to execute a function. So on success, we have a closure, basically an anonymous function here, saying that the form in all of the different fields is going to be to reset, because this is a model. So once we send the form, we need to reset the fields to, well, allow to send the information once again. We don't want to reutilize the same information. We create the skill, we clear the form, close it, and allow to show it again and again and again with new information, so the user doesn't have to manually remove the information. So what we're going to say is that this form in the name is going to be reset, and for that we need to use, or we can use, the reset method for the form. Once again, a new capability that we have here. We finish with a semicolon, and here we are going to do the same for the name, for the color, and pretty important, we are going to see that this acting, the one that is going to open or close our model, is going to be null. That means that after we successfully created a skill from the store method, we are going to close our model. So let's go to take care of the model. Here we are sending the name and the color. We don't need anything else. But of course, inside the model, we need the corresponding values of our skill. So let's go there. Acting to true, perfectly functional. We need to send the submit. And here we are going to model the form name. Of course, it's going to be now a text. The name is going to be basically the name of the skill. We can use here the name. You can put anything that you prefer over there, of course. And we're going to do something pretty similar in the case of the color. So form errors, name. We don't need the text area, so we can remove this. And we have the same button with the same capabilities here, saying if the form is processing, we are going to show the processing circle here, and we are going to say that the value here is submit. Perfect. Now let's do add, of course, the color, which is basically a select. So we are going to create this here. Select. We don't need a name, we don't need an ID, so let's remove this. And this select is going to have some style, so let's do add them, class. And we have a fixed width with 96, a border. We are going just to make this to look pretty similar of a regular input. A border is going to be gray of 600. This is going to be rounded. And we have a margin top of 5. And then this is going to model, let's do add the corresponding indentation for, of course, the form color. Now, inside the color, we need to show the actual list of the colors here. So we are going to loop over them. Let's do add an option, which is going to be the default one. So the value is empty, saying select a color. And then we are going to have another one, but this is going to be inside of before. So we have before for the color in the list of colors that we are going to need. Basically, the available colors. So probably you are guessing good. We need here the list of available colors coming from the controller, and additionally that needs to be a property of our current component, and the value is going to be, of course, computed. So we need to use the column here from the color that we are actually following here in our loop, and here we are going to show the name of the color, which is basically the color itself. So let's do add all of this. We need to go faster to our list of properties, which is here, and we are going to say that the available colors is going to be an object. This is going to be an array, or basically a collection with a list of available colors. Of course, if you prefer, you can use something different correspondingly with the type of the data that you are receiving here, but object is just enough. So let's send this from our controller. Let's go to app HTTP controller. That is the skill controller, of course, and there we are going to say that we are sending the full list of available colors coming from the method that we already know from skill. Remember, if you check it out, it is get available background color. So we can use exactly that same method, and it's going to return that and send it to our front end. We can use it here, and we are looping that into our form. So we already have the list of colors. The user can select one. We are modeling it. We are going to show the error in the case of the color, and let's verify. So we go here and refresh. We can add new. Here it is. The skill color is test. And of course, we can select any of the colors. Pretty functional, but you may be guessing good. This is going to fail because we are calling a method that does not exist yet into our skill controller. So let's complete that. Let's close this. And let's go now to our skill controller. And here we are going to create a new method, of course, which is going to be store. And store is going to receive information from the request. So we need to inject the request data here. Let's to be sure that you have the definition of request coming from Illuminate HTTP request here. And then the first thing, pretty important, we need to use the request to validate itself. So we use validate, and we need to send the information that we are going to validate. We have essentially the name, which is going to be an array. Here it is. And then we are going to have the color, which is essentially the same. Perfect. So in the case of the name, it is absolutely required. Then must be unique and a maximum of 255 characters. And the unique, we can use a rule, unique, saying that, well, this must be unique on the skill model. So this is going to resolve automatically the table and say, hey, there should not exist any other skill with the same name. Be sure to import the definition of rule that we have here coming from Illuminate validation rule. Here it is. You can see this. And of course, we have already the definition of skill. And well, we are going to do almost the same. In the case of colors, this is required. But additionally, this needs to be in the full list of colors that we already support. So let's use the in, and in is going to receive the list of variable names that we need to put separated by a comma. So we can use implode, Unemployed is going to receive the glue, which is basically a comma, and the pieces are going to be from the skill, and remember the name of the method, get available background colors. Perfect. So at this point, we already validated the information. Perfect. And now, once we are sure that the information is correct, we can create the skill. So we can use skill, create, and we are going to use all the information that we already know that is correct into our request. And now the only thing that we need is to return a response with a redirection to our route. So in fact, this should be a redirect route to the name of our route, which is skills.index. Pretty functional. So let's verify that. We already implemented our backend. Let's do check. Here it is. Let's do refresh just in case. Add new. Testing. Let's do select any color, for example, blue. Submit. And here it is, testing and blue. And of course, if we go to our actual portfolio, we can see there the new skill in the list of skills that we have in the section. Here it is, testing in the corresponding color, and you can validate. We can create all of those dynamically using this specific element. You can see how the elements were reset after the creation and how, of course, the modal got closed after the entire process. That's all. Of course, if we don't set anything here, we can try to verify. This is going to say the name field is required, the same for the color. The validations are correct as well. And now we can proceed and do basically the same in the case of the projects. Let's see how to do that, because this is going to be pretty interesting, but a little similar. See you there.